Hi, I'm Jake.
And I'm Tim, and I was just talking right over Jake, but this is the Creeds and Confessions Bible from Crossway.
Pretty.
And it's really cool, and this is not the premium quality, but it is TruTone.
TruTone.
Yes, now TruTone, the cover, I mean, you can tell, don't get me wrong, but it's not bad.
Tell you what, before we got this, all the pictures that we seen of this thing looked amazing.
Right, and it was getting really good reviews. So PT&J are going to take it to the next level. Are all these amazing reviews worth it? Are they really telling us the truth? Because, you know, our job is to make sure that the product you get matches your expectations. So let's go over this thing real quick. First thing I want to point out is, before we point out any of the features, and I want to go to page 530 in this thing, and I want to show you page 666. How in the world?
Yeah.
Ah! How did that happen? All right.
The human number.
Yeah, the number of man. So anyhow, going to page 5.
You know, you probably could have had this like earmarked before.
I could have, but why?
Okay, so what is it that you're trying to show us?
Okay, well,
Let's look closely.
This is the Omega.
The Omega.
And this is the Creeds and Confessions.
I see something similar.
Yes, they use the exact same text block, but there is a weird difference. It seems this text, even though they're both supposed to be 10-point font, and even though the text blocks are exactly the same size.
You feeling sick?
No.
Okay.
There's a little less margin between the Omega and this. So it seems that whomever printed this off, it was blown up just a tad. So the font is probably just a little bit larger than a 10.
So from what we look at with our naked eye, this is not the exact same text block. I mean, if you were to cut the line, if you were to cut the cover off of both of these Bibles, you're going to have a slightly different size.
Yes, but it's strange because you turn the page to page, and it is an exact match where the verses begin, where they end, the corner references.
So long story short, if you love how the Omega looks on the inside, you're going to find something extremely similar with the Creeds and Confessions.
Yes, so basically, like you say, which one do I get? I've only got a certain amount of money, and I want the premium of either the Omega or the Creeds and Confessions. If you get the Creeds and Confessions, you're essentially getting the Omega, if you get it in premium. So you don't have to get both unless you're one of those people there. I want them all. Then you can have them all. But essentially, you're getting the same thing. What sets this apart is at the end. So that's really what we're going to focus on today. When you get to the end, of course, you have your concordance at the end, like every Bible, or most every Bible. But what's really interesting is they have these after the concordance. Now, there's several confessions and several creeds, which is why it's called the Creeds and Confessions Bible. It has a nice little table of contents.
Okay, so it lists everything.
Yes, it lists every confession that it has in there. And it also, let me step over here for a second just to give a quick comparison. It also has a nice little meaty introduction. It's a full 2-page introduction, kind of about creeds, confessions, why they exist. And I have read this. I have read everything up to the creeds from the 1500s, also called the Reformation creeds, which is a very interesting thing that has happened to me this week. I've had a few people ask me, as an Assembly of God pastor, how do you feel about these Reformation creeds? And I appreciate their place in history. And I tell you what, I agree with a lot of it.
Oh, snap.
Now, I disagree with some of it too. And if you could take a rubber band and you could stretch it to its capacity to where there's nothing left but tension, I would probably be somewhere in the tightest point in what I believe. I am not an Arminian, and I am not a Calvinist. However, I appreciate both views, and I think the truth lies somewhere in between the two. Do whatever you want to with that. I would not consider myself a Calvinist or Reformed, and I would not consider myself an Arminian. I don't believe in...
I consider myself American.
Okay, I consider myself a Christian, but, you know, hey.
Oh, snap. You know, couldn't let me have that one, could you?
Okay, come on, let's move on. Anyhow, the Apostles' Creed. Now, you will notice the Apostles' Creed is very similar to the Nicene Creed. The Nicene Creed is a little more meaty, on the mention of the Trinity or the divinity of Christ. And there's reasons for that, but let's start off with the Apostles' Creed. It is actually believed, now, they don't know who wrote the Apostles' Creed. It's not reliably recorded, but there are some that believe that the Apostles' Creed is as early as 120 AD.
That's super early.
And possibly even either mentioned or written by Ignatius, who was a student of John the Apostle, who died somewhere around 100 AD. So we're talking about the establishment of creeds being as early as 20 years after the death of the last disciple.
So there's a good reason why certain denominations live and die by these creeds.
Yes. See, and here's the thing. A lot of people think that creeds and confessions were meant to establish truth, and that is not true. Creeds and confessions were only meant to confirm already affirmed truth. And the early church needed this model to say, this is what we believe in a nutshell for the person that hadn't read the whole Bible, because that's a whole different story for a whole different day. But the Bible wasn't accessible like it is today. The thing people feasted and lived off of were these creeds. So anyhow, somewhere in 325 AD at the Council of Nicaea, a lot of people believe that this was when Constantine started Christianity. But actually that is not true. Constantine didn't start Christianity. Jesus started Christianity. That's clearly recorded in the scripture. But Constantine wanted his empire to be unified, and he was frustrated with the church fighting back and forth. And there was a guy by the name of Arian, and Arian created what is called, I think that was his name, Arian. Yes, thank you.
He's a jerk.
Well, he started the Arian controversy.
Like a jerk.
Yes, yes, you can have that one, Jake. He was a jerk.
Thank you.
All right. So he started the Arian controversy, and only a jerk would remove the divinity of Jesus, right?
Yeah, a really stupid jerk.
Yes. So
Nasty.
He tried to say that Jesus was of different substance than the Father, and therefore he wasn't divine, but he was a created being. And this led to all sorts of controversy.
Terrible.
Yes. So then there was the Orthodox Church, and then there was the group that was with Eusebius.
Big
This
names.
guy. Okay. This guy is not to be confused with Eusebius of Nicodemia. Nicodemia, he was an Arian. This is Eusebius of Caesarea. Okay. He had so there were three groups. First of all, you had your Arians. They believed that Jesus was not divine. Mm-hmm. You had your Orthodox Church.
Right.
They believed Jesus was divine. And then you had your group that was with Eusebius, and they believed with the Orthodox Church, but they argued over terminology, which I think is a lot of what the Calvinist versus the Arminians debate is. A lot of it is more semantics than it is real disagreement. But there is real disagreement, don't get me wrong. So anyhow, as you can tell, I'm pretty excited about this.
Yeah, and it's super early, and you've been going like the Energizer Bunny.
Yes, it's exciting.
All right.
So anyhow, in 325 AD, we have these three groups, and they are fighting. Well, actually, two groups are fighting, and two groups are agreeing. And Constantine says, look, you guys have got to put this to bed. I'm trying to sit here and get my grapes fed to me by my girls, and I'm trying to live the life of the emperor, and y'all are messing up my groove.
Yeah.
So we're going to have this council, and you all find a compromise.
Mm-hmm.
And is that what happened? No, because you don't compromise with enemies, right? If somebody's wrong, you don't compromise them. So the two groups overwhelmed the one group.
But all he wanted was grapes.
We're not talking about Constantine. We're talking about Arian, the jerk.
Wait, I thought we were talking about Eusebius, but not the bad one.
We are. We're talking about Eusebius, we're talking about the Orthodox group, and we're talking about the bad one.
Okay, for those of us that were not following along, go back to sleep, and please, Pastor Tim, continue.
So we have two groups versus one, right?
Right.
So the two groups win. But the problem is, Constantine wasn't real happy about this because he wanted compromise and he didn't get compromise. What he got was one group dominating the other, which the group was right. We have, it's two groups.
W is a W.
Yes. So anyhow, Constantine was bothered by this. He had a sister who said, oh, these poor Arians, you need to take their side. And that's exactly what he did. And then Arianism started spreading again, and then it would get defeated again. It started spreading again. It would get defeated again. And they went after political power, and then they would turn into internal fighting. And all these things happened, but eventually they stomped themselves out, because that's how people who don't operate in truth usually operate, is they can't agree, they turn against each other. So that's how the Nicene Creed was formed. The Nicene Creed was formed.
And if you pay attention, well, you touched on this earlier, that these creeds were available to the common man.
Yes, where the
And-
Bible was not.
Take a look at it. It's not that long.
Right.
So you can memorize this.
Right. As a matter of fact, if you are a Catholic, you've heard the "We believe in God the Father," or "We believe in God the Father Almighty, the Maker of heaven and earth, and all things seen and unseen."
I know that song.
Yeah, you've heard that. You speak that.
I listen to that on the radio.
Here's another interesting thing about the word Catholic. A lot of people get really creeped out because it says, "We believe in one holy Catholic and apostolic church." And people are like, "We're not going to say that creed because it has the word Catholic in it." And we know that Catholics did terrible things in the Dark Ages. But the word Catholic just means unified or one or single or only. We believe in one holy church, basically. And they point that out here. It means universal. So it means we believe in the universal church. In other words, we believe there's only one church, and that's a fact.
Wait a second. I'm Catholic.
Yes, I'm Catholic, but I'm not Catholic.
You heard it here first. We're Catholic.
But we're not Catholic in the sense that we're not. Here's an interesting. Let's move on because we are just the Athanasian Creed. That there was a guy at the Council of Nicaea named Athanasius who was under the Bishop Alexander. There's just so much information in here. This thing is so loaded. And he was the one who almost single-handedly fought off the Arian controversy once everyone else had kind of moved on. So that's how the Athanasian Creed, it's a little more lengthy. This one is actually broken down into verses. I don't know if it was originally that way, but it's got 44 verses in it.
Okay, so on each one, I'm seeing the trend. There's a little explanation about what it is at the beginning and then the creed.
Right. So actually, Athanasius did not establish this creed. It was established kind of in his name. I believe this was somewhere around 380 AD, if I remember, because there was a second council that confirmed all these things in 380 or 381, and the rest is history. So now we're kind of moving into the 400s, the Chalcedonian Creed, and then we start moving into the confessions and creeds of the 1500s.
Uh-oh. Wow, so we jumped a few years.
Yes.
Wait a second, we're out of the Dark Ages.
Well, here's the thing.
Wait, when did we enter the Dark Ages?
The Chalcedonian Creed was in the Council of Ephesus in 451, and they said, "No more creeds allowed. Stop it. Stop it, people. We get it." Okay? And it worked for 1,000 years. And then that's when the big problem started happening. Martin Luther posts a 95 thesis on the Wittenberg Gate or the Wittenberg door.
Snap.
And he blows up some things. And a lot of people think that the Reformation actually was the cause of the Reformation theology. And that's not true. The Reformation was the cause of the separation of the Catholic Church from the corrupt papacy. So Martin Luther's goal was not to establish a new version of Christianity. It was to purify existing Christianity. The problem is that was not going to happen. We are out of the Dark Ages at this point, or moving out of the Dark Ages. And during the Dark Ages, we know that the papacy and the Catholic Church was extremely corrupt. That's when they started indulgences and penances and purgatory and all these different doctrines that the most Orthodox folks don't agree with. And now, I will first confess that I'm not the most familiar with most of these creeds. They're very lengthy. That's one of the reasons I wanted this Bible. I wanted this Bible because it puts all these things in one volume and makes it far easy to study and compare versus going online or going in a big thick book. So I'm really appreciative of these. It has the Augsburg Confession, the Belgic Confession, the 39 Articles. It has the longer catechism, the shorter catechism, the Westminster Confession. This thing has it all. And it's sort of a great companion to the Creedal Bible we reviewed earlier, which has a few of the creeds in the beginning. No creed but the Bible, which is hysterical to me, because it's actually a creed. It's not the Bible, but we won't go there. But anyhow, I'm not really going to focus on this. I just want to show it to you real quick. And it's got...
You got to warn people if you're going to turn to a page where there's a highlight on there. We don't want to have any emergency resuscitations.
This is not premium, and this is almost my everyday carry. So anyway, now back to reviewing the actual Bible itself. This is a problem for me. It's a paper liner. It's glued on, and it's glued on okay, but it's got little gaps here. But I'll tell you what, you can land this thing for about $30, $35.
which is the going rate for a decent Bible.
I'd pay $35 for this.
Mm-hmm.
You can get it at Crossway directly for $50. But I'm going to give this thing a great review. Just because, number one, the text block is almost essentially the Omega.
Mm-hmm. The paper's not bad.
The
Turns
paper,
pretty easy.
The paper is the same in my mind. It's got that weightiness to it that the Omega has. The gilting is only gold. It doesn't have the double gilting, which obviously they're going to skip steps on this one.
What? No art gilding on a normal Bible?
But it's in good shape. It's got the nice ribbons. It appears to have the same ribbons as your standards. It's not like Omega material, but it is. I mean, that's a solid ribbon.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take that. Headband, tailband look good and tight, good and solid. The text block lays straight.
Yeah.
So man, I give this thing an A+. Yeah, that's hard to look at.
You know what? It still feels pretty solid.
Yes.
And you know what? It looks fantastic.
Oh, those race hubs. They're just, I mean, you look and compare, I mean, there's very, very little difference.
It looks really good.
Yes.
Plus, it comes with a nice box.
So
very hard.
Since it's not a premium Bible, it seems to sit a little tighter. So you could probably store this thing upright if you wanted to.
And it's a cool box.
Right. I'm not going to store it upright. I'm going to store it on its side as God intended.
Yeah.
But you do have that option.
On the 8th day when the Bible
Yes.
was created,
Yes.
it was created to lay flat.
Exactly. So anyhow, you got anything else to add?
Well, it seems that this Bible is something that no matter what your beliefs are, is a fantastic historical document.
100%. Just like Eusebius' Ecclesiastical History, Josephus.
The good Eusebius, not the bad Eusebius.
Right. I'm glad you caught that.
Yeah.
Because I was talking 900 miles an hour, and I'm not even sorry. This was a pretty exciting get from Crossway. Thank you, Crossway. I'm a tad bummed.
Thank you, Crossway.
I'm a tad bummed they wouldn't send us the premium, but I get it. This thing is in high demand, and I'm just happy to have it. And maybe there's a rebinder out there that says, you know, Tim, you look like a nice guy. I'm going to offer to rebind that for you. Go for it. All right. Anyhow, life is so much sweeter when you start off your day with a heaping helping of PT&J. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.